Have you ever experienced gun violence? Chances are someone you know has. About 58% of American adults or someone they care about has experienced gun violence in their life. This information was collected by Everytown Research, a nonprofit organization that fights for gun control. Unfortunately, in our violent world, something that used to be used for protection is now used to harm innocent people. In a society where gun violence is becoming more prevalent, no one is willing to make changes to the laws regarding guns. The Everytown Research reports that 120 people die from guns every day, and twice that number of people are injured by them. After researching for hours and seeing the impact gun violence has had on friends and family, I wanted to show what I've learned about gun violence and how we can better support and defend people who have been affected. To better understand how gun violence has become so prevalent, we will first look at why it's so important to register your gun. While there are laws that people must follow to get guns, there are also ways that people can acquire guns illegally. The problem is that it is becoming easier to get guns without having to register for one. First, instances of gun violence and gun ownership are rising in children under 18. Data from NBC News reports that there has been a 41% increase in teens carrying guns from 2015 to 2019. This isn't just the case for teens, though. The Pew Research Center reported that in June of 2023, 4 in 10 adults say they live in a house with a gun, including the 32% who personally own one. 67% of gun owners cite that the number one reason for people wanting to own guns is for protection. These statistics just briefly show who owns guns and why they feel the need to have them. More than 68,000 illegal firearms come from dealers that do not perform background checks, which represents about 54% of illegally trafficked firearms, as supported by National Public Radio. When background checks are not performed, the firearms could end up in the hands of someone with the wrong intentions. This also makes it hard for law enforcement to track down a non-registered gun used in a crime. Second, gun violence has become the leading cause of death in the U.S. for children and teens ever since 2020. Since the beginning of 2024, there have been at least 58 school shootings as of reported by CNN. Stanford University reported how after school shootings have occurred, enrollment has dropped, along with test scores. Kids become distracted by the thought that another shooting could happen. Johns Hopkins School of Public Health states that more than half of all gun owners do not store their guns safely and correctly, often leaving them in an unlocked safe and full of ammunition. Registering for a gun is just as important as storing it safely, and that is why more laws need to be made regarding firearms. Potential solutions lie on the governmental, community, and personal level. First, at a state level, the firearm and ammunition are legally supposed to be stored in separate places. Also, everyone needs to have a permit that is updated every 3 years. For example, the S. 1825 Safe Storage Act of 2021 requires gun owners to store their guns and ammunition separately. If the bill was put through on a federal level, this would ensure safer storage for households. However, some gun owners may not agree with this. Second, we teach the community the importance of gun safety. Everytown is an organization that spreads awareness about gun safety, teaching everyone in all communities. They are actively trying to get the laws changed. They have already made changes in many states by having governors add laws that will save many lives. Unfortunately, there are still downsides. People still may not register their guns and may not take gun safety seriously. The last solution would be to make sure our households are safe and that our kids understand the dangers of guns, along with making sure your own gun is registered correctly. Something everyone can do is look up the safe and proper way to store a gun if you're going to have one in the household. Also, keeping the paperwork for your gun handy in case it's needed. The benefit of this would getting to be inform your children about gun safety. Each solution has its pros and cons, but all have potential to make changes. Today, we looked at how gun violence is a growing problem and will always be an issue if laws aren't changed. I chose this topic because on the last day of 7th grade, a school shooting happened at a neighboring middle school. I had friends at that school and was desperately trying to get in contact with them. It was scary not knowing what was happening and waiting to hear the outcome. People were injured, but thankfully no one was killed. However, the event could have been avoided if the parents had stored their guns correctly. While my friends were not in direct harm's way, it still took a toll on their mental health and was hard for them to feel safe at school after it happened. This is why gun laws are so important, to keep us safe.